Good morning. Hello. Welcome
Morning.
to this impromptu, very short info session about the Crit Lab. I am Patricia Miranda. I'm the founder and director of the lab. And I'm here with my amazing assistant, Valentina Zamora, and one of our incredible Crit Lab artists and recent NYFA Fellow. Congratulations, Rita Maas. We're just going to go through a few really fast little overview of the lab, a few things about that, and look a little bit at Rita's work, and she'll give us a little her kind of input on the lab. So the Crit Lab was started in 2013 in my studio in person, and with just 5 people, and just through word of mouth and working in the lab, it just grew and grew and grew. And now we have between 50 and 60 artists every session. The program is a 5-month graduate level critique seminars for working artists working in small cohorts. So the cohorts are between 4 to 7 people max, and you meet with the same people for the entire 5-month program. So we meet most labs. We have several different labs. We have main lab, next level lab, Quattro lab, duet lab, project lab is our newest lab, and they all function slightly differently. The formats are somewhat similar, but most meet twice a month for about 3 hours, and every artist gets an in-depth critique in every month. So you were working with the same people. It's like kind of a 5-month long conversation about your work. We have a very structured pedagogy, which I think is one of the strengths of the lab. And the other thing that is a great strength is that all of the groups are curated. You can't sign up for a particular lab. You sign up for the lab in general, and then I curate the groups so I can put really powerful cohorts together as though I was curating a museum exhibition or thinking about how the artist's work would speak to one another. So I'm going to show our website just to give you some information. You can always check out the website for more information. There's lots of information. Every artist in the lab has a portfolio page. That's in each group has a page, and then each artist has a page. Actually, I can show you. Rita, you're in Wednesday, right? So, oops, that's not you. That's Rima, another wonderful artist. So each artist has a page with their work and statement. There's information about the labs. We have a Crit Lab exhibition every year. This spring, we are having an exhibition at HV MoCA Museum in Hudson Valley MoCA in Peekskill, New York. So we're very excited about that. We have an Alt MFA, which is a conference, and we have residencies in Italy, in Peekskill, and at MapSpace in Portchester. And we have a space where artists can show their work. So the website is a place where you can find out a lot of information. Very excited about the spring session, which starts February 1st. What is it, February? Oh my gosh, I should have my dates ready, shouldn't I? February 5th. So there's still time to sign up. We also offer 1 to 2 fellowships each session. Those are full tuition, page on the website. We also have a private social media network, the Crit Lab Mighty Network, where all of the cohorts can interact. They have private spaces. There's lots of resources in there, artist resources, places where there's texts, and there's a Crit Lab library. People can post about their exhibitions. So lots and lots of resources in the network. The network is growing and getting more and more exciting and interesting. And all of the Crit Lab artists who've been in a lab if you've ever been in a lab, even once, are in the Mighty Network forever. So you'll always be part of the community. The Crit Lab is not really so much a class. So some people Rita has been in and out of the lab for quite a number of years because it's really becomes part of some people's studio practice. Some people come for a session and that's really informs them in all the ways they need. Other people continue to join the session over time. It becomes part of their practice every month to talk about their work with their cohort. So I wanted to introduce Rita's work. Rita recently just received a NYFA fellowship, which is an enormous accomplishment, a great honor. And so we're always excited to, see how amazing our Crit Lab artists are doing. There are artists who are starting out, who don't have degrees, but are really working very seriously. There are artists who are showing in museums and have MFAs. We have a whole range. The most important thing is that the artists are very serious about their studio practice. It's a very serious program, very, very rigorous, and also just a lot of fun. So, Rita, why don't you want to just talk about this project, just briefly, the NYFA project? I mean, it wasn't the NYFA project,
Certainly.
the project that received the NYFA award.
Certainly. This is a project that I developed, I guess it was 2022. I happened to have this physical thing happen where I lost my hearing and in one ear. And what I found was it really disoriented me in space, and just walking around in normal circumstances and listening to things I just never really could. I felt it was very disorienting because I could never really tell where the sound was coming from. Um, as my hearing started to come back, I just started to do these listening meditations, and I happened to be in residency in Virginia at Hollins University, where they have beautiful gardens to sit in, and I happen to have the luxury of time, which I don't always have in my normal life. So I was doing these listening meditations. And just one afternoon, I was like, I have to just come out with a sketch pad. And just very spontaneously, didn't think it was going to, it was just an exercise. And I just started to make marks that corresponded to the migrating birds in the garden. And eventually I started using an ornithology app that identified all the birds, and they're listed on the back of each drawing. And on the front, I indicate the place, the time, the temperature of when the drawing was made. So it kind of locates each drawing in a specific place at a specific time. And I call them soundscapes as opposed to landscapes. And it's sort of a new way for me of seeing a landscape. It kind of makes these auditory experiences visual. And then I just continued when my residency was over, and it's really a wonderful, calm way to express sound. So it was a great project for me, and it's ongoing, I have to say. And in fact, I'm planning on expanding it this spring with a fellow Crit Labber in a collaboration, because our work is what we found through the lab was that a lot of me and this particular artist, a lot of our methods are very similar and our interests are similar. So we're going to embark on a project together, a collaboration. And so we're looking forward to seeing the results of that.
That's amazing. And that's Cindy McCollum, right?
Yes, it is, Cindy.
Yeah, amazing. So this is another thing that happens in the lab, is that people begin to realize that they have, things in common in their work, and people have organized exhibitions, and I'm very excited about this collaboration. These drawings are also done, they're intimate drawings, and you're doing that, you're not looking at the paper, is that right? And you're using both hands and you're not looking at the paper?
Yes, the process behind what I'm doing when I'm out in the garden is I just sit using both ears because I'm listening. I sit with using both hands, one for my left ear, one for my right, and I just make marks as I hear things through my different ears, and whether it's above or below, and sometimes it's behind me. So I'm sort of just marking this auditory space, and I don't look at the paper. So And that's also why I set a timer, because I can't, just to determine when it's done, because I'm trying not to look. I do cheat sometimes, but and that just like maps out this space and time for me. And thank you for bringing that up. I forgot.
No, it's beautiful. And these were recently shown at the Hammond Museum, which is
Yeah.
in, is it North Salem?
It's in North Salem,
North
yes.
Salem. A really lovely museum, small museum, with beautiful gardens and stuff. So it's, these are so intimate and so beautiful. It's a little hard to see them on the computer screen. I can attest to this because I've seen them in person, and such a beautiful poetic project. So
Thank you.
yeah,
And many of them were done at the Hammond Museum.
Mm.
The garden is really spectacular. If you're in the area, I urge you to go visit in the spring when they open.
Wonderful. And Rita has so many other amazing works. Her work is always just conceptually, with a lot of conceptual depth and a kind of, pared back beauty. It's always a pleasure to see the work and to work with Rita in the lab.
Thank you.
So yeah, and you've been in the lab for, quite a number of times and come in and out. And so I'll say just a couple of things about the pedagogy, and then Rita can just say a few words about being in the lab, and then we'll wrap this up because we're keeping it short, and hope that if anybody has information, you can check out the website and reach out to me. I'm always happy to talk about the programs. The pedagogy is really a focus on the artwork and not the artist. We have sort of language guidelines. I say that we practice the pedagogy with a lot of humor and compassion because it is a different way of talking about work than people are accustomed to, but it's really effective in being able to distance ourselves from the work, seeing what's happening in the work, seeing what's showing up in the work that we intended, seeing what's showing up in the work that surprises us, following new directions, et cetera, et cetera. And it's very focused and very intensive. So if you're really looking to push your work, it's powerful in that way. So Rita, do you want to say anything about your experience?
Yes, absolutely. And that's been very valuable to me because, most artists, they work alone in the studio, and it's very difficult to understand what's being seen outside your own creation. So when it's shown to a group of artists that I all respect, and I get their feedback and they tell me their response to the work, that's so informative to me. That helps me understand what's getting through, how the work is successful or not, and how to possibly develop it further. So that has been really, really key to me. And, the other thing is just building community of all these artists that I really respect. And also, I learned so much just from looking at other people's work and discussing other people's work. I really have to say that has been very valuable to me in the Crit Lab, because there are some kinds of work I didn't have a lot of experience with before coming to the lab. And just the exercise of commenting on it and speaking about it and listening about what others have to say has really broadened my understanding of the whole process. So yeah, I found it all very valuable.
Thank you. And as you can hear, it's not, when you come to the Crit Lab, it's not Patricia doing all of the talking. I set up the guidelines are powerful. So it's really about the artists in the cohort coming together and talking about the work. And I will sort of, set things up, and then the conversation goes. I mean, these are amazing working artists. These are not students. The Crit Lab is not a student mentor structure. It is a peer organization using the pedagogy to develop an ability to really critically analyze the work and to use that in really productive ways in the studio. So the individual crits are between 30 and 40 minutes. There's a little bit of flexibility in that. And most of that is the artist talking, us talking as a group. I will sort of come in usually at the end and sort of bring, connect some linkages, bring in some things that I think people maybe did or didn't see, make some connections, suggestions of artists to look at, et cetera, et cetera. But it's really not like coming and listening to me talk all the whole time. It's really a conversation between the artists. And I think that's also one of the great powers. And there's a huge amount of depth in the conversations. And I am always so incredibly inspired and blown away by these artists at every level in someone's practice. It's not about where someone is in their career. It's really about the dedication to the studio. That's really the primary criteria for the lab. And so it's enormously inspiring, and I'm always incredibly grateful to these artists for entrusting the lab with this time. And yeah, so I think that's all we have to say for today. If anybody is interested and wants to know more, again, check out Rita's website. You can find her on the Crit Lab website, and of course on her website, where there's much more projects and depth about the work. It's really amazing work. And be happy to have you join us in the lab. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina. Thank you, Rita. And all right.